Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. I want you to listen if you own a business or if you know somebody who owns a business, because obviously you always want your business to grow. It's good if it's hanging in there and things are good, but yeah, we want to get to the other side and keep things moving forward. Today, we're going to give you 5 steps to maximize your business growth. And to help us with that is somebody who really knows their stuff when it comes to growing businesses. He's the owner and founder and coach of Weaver Business Coaching. Keith Weaver is back with us. Keith, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Glad to be back. It's having a great week. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can end it on a positive note as well.
Well, it's all uphill from here. It's Friday. So
That's right.
You can't go wrong from there. But yeah, I'd love to hear what we can do, even as a small business owner myself, the steps to maximize your business growth. Because I try to think of what those steps are. Everybody has a different perception of what they might be. Where do we start? What's step number 1?
Well, really, the step number 1 is we work with the business owner to really have the right mindset. And what I mean by that is having being consciously curious so that they're willing to look at options and explore and openly explore those various options, not be set in their ways, right? And part of that mindset is to challenge the models, the behaviors, the habits that you have within yourself, but also kind of within the business, right? And then to seek to modify and innovate and come up with something better. And having that mindset, then we work with the business owner to really get away from the day-to-day part of the business. There's the idea of a lot of times say, a plumber has been doing plumbing for 10 years and they decide, hey, tired of working for the man, I want to go out and start my own business. They start their own business, but they're really a technician, they're a plumber. And moving out of that plumbing role into the idea of being a CEO is a big step into the growth of the business. To get away from that mindset of, I'll give you a quick example. I have a client, good friend of mine as well, that had his business for 15 years, and he always referred to himself as an owner. And I talked to him one day and I said, why do you call yourself an owner? And he's like, because I am an owner. And I said, well, owner is like you own a car, right? You own a house. That's like a possession. A business isn't as much for a possession as it is more of a fiduciary duty. It's something that you've got to nurture and do stuff with. And just changing his mindset to a CEO that, wow, I'm responsible to make sure this business grows. I'm responsible for making sure things are running smooth, and taking on that real CEO role changed his perspective. And then that dovetailed into a lot of other changes. So having that mindset is a big part of it to get the ball rolling, if you will.
It is so true. And I see exactly what you're saying, because sometimes many business owners, we forget that it's not a possession, it's a living, breathing entity. And your business is always evolving. It's never going to be just this. There's more clients, less clients, more money, less money, challenges, easy days. It's always moving along. So it's almost, you could even call yourself the parent of your business in some ways. But isn't it also true, Keith, maybe that we're afraid to put that big label on us because maybe we're a bit insecure to say, I'm a CEO. Yeah, you are. Even though it's maybe a small business, you are the president, you are the CEO. Take the ownership of it. It's okay. I think sometimes we're afraid, right?
I definitely think so. And it carries with it some responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And we like to shun away from responsibility sometimes, but feeling that responsibility often helps us kind of live up to that expectation and take it more seriously, which is what it takes to grow a business.
Yeah, it's You know what I think of? I think of the energy drink. I think it was Red Bull a number of years ago. Drink it and it gives you wings. And then
Oh, yeah.
so by giving yourself that title CEO or president, it gives you wings to grow your business even more.
And then you can start looking at, okay, I'm doing this in my business. Is that something that a CEO really would do? And you have that now, that baseline to bounce off of and say, well, maybe I shouldn't. I need to do it, have a higher standard, or maybe this is something that more of a receptionist should be doing and not the CEO or whatever it might be. But it's a way to kind of change your mindset and start thinking about your role in the business differently, and where you should be spending your time.
Do you feel a lot of business owners shy away from those titles and that feeling because they're not really sure what a CEO does or what a president does?
Very much so. When we meet with clients, a lot of times that's what they're confused about. They don't know, and they have questions about, well, what is a CEO? What does a CEO do? And sometimes we even give them an assignment to go out and Google it, go out and talk to a couple CEOs, find out what they're doing, and just kind of compare and contrast, and come back and tell us, what do you see that they're doing that you're not doing, or whatever. And sometimes just broadening their perspective can be really helpful.
And same thing we talked about last time, going to networking events, just getting a feeling for what others maybe in the same type of business or the same size business. Like we were talking about a plumber, but you might run into somebody who has a very small construction company that's kind of at the same level, in terms of your perception that you may be, and maybe you can pick their brain or at least watch them. How are they
Right.
conducting themselves? How are they moving along? What do they have on their business card?
Very good advice. Yeah. Getting that outside perspective is always helpful.
Yeah. So that we're talking about the 5 steps to maximize your business growth. We're with Keith Weaver with Weaver Business Coaching. How about some of the other steps, Keith?
So the next one is really helping them understand what the core of their business is, what we call the power of one core, really defining, okay, what is it that separates your business apart and makes your business? More and more, I know I have a background in psychology, and like diagnosis of ADHD has gone up in the last few years, last decade. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it seems like in business, there's a lot of the shiny object syndrome where, people just, oh, I want to do this. Oh, let's take the business here. Let's do this. Or someone else is doing this. We should do this. And they really lose the focus of their business. And if you're trying to, expand your business in too many different areas, it's not going to work. But really coming back to the core and saying, okay, what started the business? What's the core product or service that we're doing? And are we really, making sure that we're living to that and aligning with that? Getting back to the basics, so to speak, can be a big, powerful part to help them solidify their business, but then also grow their business.
I use that analogy, the shiny object syndrome, all the time. And it can be sometimes the kiss of death. And I've even had a client or two over many years see the shiny object and go toward it. And they've come back to us when they realize that the shiny object really wasn't what they thought it would be.
Right.
And applying that to your business, it can be, I think, very beneficial to look at your competition without a doubt. But just because they're doing it doesn't mean you should be doing it. You should be inspired by what they're doing, or take what they're doing and apply it to your business. So it actually is a really good fit. But yeah, to your point, sometimes boiling it back to the basics. And I don't want people to think this, we're going to reinvent the wheel, but starting a little fresh so you can build a little cleaner might be a good idea.
Yeah, so that's what we also look at doing with our clients and helping businesses with is helping to streamline that. And then, if we are going to expand the business, do it very systematically, not just because, oh, there's this shiny object, but we've looked at things that it's a natural dovetailing of what we have already, and it's a great fit from there.
Is that something you also help business owners with, Keith, systems, putting them in place, making things operate smoothly?
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually kind of the third step, is where we look at their systems and really trying to maximize their current resources. You know, if they're have resources that are not being utilized appropriately, whether that's, you know, human capital, or whether that's, you know, other types of products or services, to trying to align those so that we're getting the most benefit out of those resources.
Do you find that a lot of business owners are afraid to delegate?
Very much so, especially those that are, you know, we were talking about the plumber, the technician that started the business. They start the business and they have to bootstrap. They have to do everything to start the business. And when they do, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into that business. To delegate and let somebody else have control over a different, you know, any one aspect of that business, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. And it's admirable in some regards because it's your name, your integrity on it. So you don't want to give up that. But then do you really want to be working 90 hours a week and stressed out and worrying about everything when you could have handed this or that off to somebody else, minimal cost, let's say, and had it taken care of? Again, I know it's a challenging time right now finding employees. So that's the other, you know,
Right.
can't ignore the elephant in the room there.
But you know, that's often the bottleneck that businesses have a client that, you know, he's got about, I don't know, 20 employees or so, but in the middle of his process, where he has half the employees getting things processed so that it's ready to present to the client, and then, you know, the other half is the actual fulfillment. And in the middle of that, he's the bottleneck because he wants to approve everything. He wants to review and make sure everything's squared away.
Yep.
Well, that creates a huge bottleneck because he's only one person and he's trying to keep up with 10 people. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally see that. And I hear from a lot of friends who have businesses, and, you know, they have to approve proposals and just, you know, whatever it might be. It could be as simple as approving social media posts. And guess
Right.
what? Now another day goes by, another day goes by, another day goes by, and then there's some lost opportunity. Now it's not as current as it should be because he had so many things on his plate that couldn't even get to that.
Right.
Totally true.
We
Yeah.
we see that a lot.
I'll bet. I'll bet. Because again, your name's on it. You want to make it. You want to make sure that it's the way it should be. What about some of the other stats?
So the fourth one that we look at is really looking at their culture. You know, assuming that it's not a one-man show, that you have employees and stuff, what's the culture that you're developing, and developing what we call a culture of accountability, you know, where everybody in the business is really engaged, invested in it, and taking ownership and accountability for their little department, their little area of that, so that you're not having to micromanage, but systemize wise, they're accountable and they're living up to that. And it also helps engage, like I said, the culture, so that the culture is better and stronger in the company. And so we work with people on that. You know, whether that's is it the right job fit for them? Do they have the, you know, autonomy to make decisions? And are you giving them that kind of autonomy? Is it the right manager fit? And, you know, how are you cultivating that employee into leadership and into their job role so that they're really able to live up to that?
And to your point, even if you are a small operation, call it a one-man show, whatever it might be, you're dealing with other people. You might have vendors, and it's the way you present yourself as well. Do you return emails fast enough? You know, in terms of your communication with them, because they could be your next referral. You never know.
Yeah. Well, and if you're having vendors, they're really part of your team
Yes.
because they're helping you grow the business, and they're, you know, going back to the networking. Some of the best people to network with are your vendors because they have a vested interest in seeing you grow.
Yep.
You know, who better to network with and get maybe new referrals because they want to see you grow, because that's more business for them. So
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, we can't forget about that, but I think sometimes we do forget about that.
Right.
And what's that was number four, right? What's number five?
So the fifth one is what we call managing by exception. And kind of a weird title. A lot of people have questions about it, but the idea is basically that if you look at a business, whether it's a doctor's office, a plumber, or, any kind of business, about 90% of what happens in that business on a day-to-day basis is pretty routine. It's pretty expected, right? And so we want to develop systems, protocols, safety nets to manage that 90% so that we understand, because it's predictable, we have it laid out exactly what's going to happen if scenario A, B, or C happens. And it all runs systematically because it's accepted and it's expected, right? The other 10% is the exception. And so as the CEO, if you're focused on dealing with that 10%, that's a lot easier for a CEO to be able to manage and say, okay, I need to watch for these red flags. When things fall outside of the norm, these are the things that we need to worry about. But the other people, my other staff, my department heads, those kind of things, they should be able to manage all of the things that are routine and not the exception. And so getting them to the point where they can do that, let go of all those other things and focus on the future of the business and the exceptions and the things that really need a CEO to kind of function and to move forward.
We're getting some instant feedback. You can reach us instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. I don't think we've ever gotten one from Montreal. So Ken is from Montreal and says, I need to hire some employees. Is there any suggestions you have to make it be effective and to streamline the process?
So without going into a ton of detail, but we actually work with software and a program to help people hire the right people, where we do personality tests kind of thing and compare that to the job and find whether it's a good job fit. Wow. Based on, are they outgoing, in more of an introvert or an extrovert? Are they more detail oriented or not? Are they more very rule oriented? What's going on, and is that a right fit for them? So that, because again, the last thing you want to do is hire an employee. They're excited about it, you're excited about it, and then they get in the job and they find that it's not the right fit culturally or job description wise. And so making sure that you have the right hires is very important in that regard.
Would you say it's almost a bit of like a personality profile?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so. I love that idea, because I could interview somebody, through a Zoom video. I only have certain questions I'm going to ask. I, have things on my mind. I'm trying to apply it to the position. But if you have it in front of you now, is that proprietary software, or software that you guys use exclusively? If somebody's looking to hire, they would reach out to you to get help with that?
So it's actually a company called Predictive Index that is its own company, and we're certified consultants and users of it. And we have our clients, a lot of times with larger clients, they use that. And it's incredible to help the engagement, improve engagement, to help hiring, to get their teams working better and really optimize the talent that they have hired or that they want to hire.
So based on that, you just sparked a question in my mind. Collaboration software, is there some that you have clients use? Any suggestions for any stuff like that? I have a few. I use one called Freedcamp, which is the free version of Basecamp, which can get a little pricey depending on the size of your business. Any suggestions there?
We don't necessarily recommend anything in particular, but more and more, there's a lot out there that are industry specific almost, where, hey, if you're an engineering company, this is kind of geared for you and the type of communication and projects you have versus, if you're more of a strictly a sales type company, you might have something else. And so there's a lot of variety out there. The biggest thing I think is rather than going out and looking for and getting, so to speak, the sales pitch from the software company, to really come up with a list of what you need, what it is that you're looking for, and then find a solution that fits that. A lot of companies, I think, even with like marketing and advertising, they talk to an advertising company and they're told what they should do rather than, no, this is what our industry needs, or this is how we need to connect with our clients.
So you bring up advertising and marketing, which is very essential to a lot of businesses, if not most businesses. And every business is different. Is there anything that you would suggest for somebody in terms of marketing, like 1 or 2, 3 steps out of the gate that they should do or consider doing?
Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but we actually take a lot of our clients through a full-on kind of a questionnaire assessment where we start with, what problem are you're fixing? What is the solution you're offering? How does it differ from, say, a DIY help, do it themselves kind of a thing versus a competitor, and what is it? What's the questions that you're asking for and getting the answers to for your clients, really understanding how you're interacting with that client and what you're doing for the client. And then building off of that of, okay, this is the message we need to have. Now, where do we need to find our client? Because if our client's middle-aged woman and we're on TikTok, that may not be the best route,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
yeah, totally. You got to go fishing where the fish are. Let's say you're looking for, cod. You're not going to the freshwater lake, over here, because you're not going to find them there. They're just not there. One thing I have to say about you, Keith, and the way that you run and you are the CEO and founder. I can say that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Of Weaver Business Coaching. You guys do a really nice deep dive into looking at what somebody is trying to accomplish with their business, whether they're starting out, whether they've been established, and whether they wanted to grow. And you have the tools behind you to make that work. And I find that fascinating and it seems like very effective.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we love what we do, and it's fun to see the difference in a business when, whether that's a business owner that's being able to back off from 80 hours a week to 60, or whether it's, they're 105 or 150% growth, or, whatever that is, when they start reaching their goals, that's exciting. It's fun to see that.
That's got to be so incredibly gratifying when somebody reaches back to you and says that, wow, we're doing so much better. Things are better. Things are moving smoother. That's got to make you feel good.
It does. Yep. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Tell everybody how it works with Weaver Business Coaching. Somebody reaches out. Where do we go from there?
Yeah, you can reach out through our website or give us a call. We set up a consultation depending on what kind of consultation you're looking for. We often have them do kind of an initial assessment so that we can get a better understanding, meet with them, talk about what their goals are, what they see as some gaps, kind of put a general plan together. And then based on that, we set up a frequency for how often we're going to be working together. We put goals into place where we keep them accountable, make sure that they're moving forward in improving and making, the landmarks that we're kind of setting for them. And it's really, it's not us coming in telling them what to do. It's really a joint partnership of, helping them understand why we're recommending these and then working together to make that happen. But if they don't understand the why, it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. Well, you have to know your why. Why are you in business?
Yeah.
What are you doing there? Is there any size company that you work with, you prefer to work with, starting point?
There's fun things about every size of business, but typically, we're in that range of between about 10 and 100 employees is kind of the area that we find most of our clients.
Gotcha. And if somebody has a business with less employees than that, would you be open to talking to them as well?
Definitely, yes.
Got it. What's your website again?
It's weaverbusinesscoaching.com.
Talking about the 5 steps to maximizing your business growth. Always great, Keith, to connect with you. And I think we help a lot of people, just, or at the very least, make them think about their business and what they should be doing in terms of moving it forward. And, you know, if anybody walks away with one little nugget of advice that can help them, I think that's effective. And give Keith a call. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to grow your business? You know, unless you can't hire employees, but he can help you with that as well.
We'll try.
Yeah, we'll try.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. And we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.